What's up, guys? My name is Manuel Mauricio Duron Espinosa. I dare you to say that 5 times faster. I am one of the founding fathers of Beta Upsilon Chi here at UTC, and you probably already know that because I'm your grandfather now. I am here to tell you about how this chapter got started from my side of the story. The story begins out in Dunlap, Tennessee, where I am working on the side of a hill. And this is really funny because it's just like really hard work. I'm over there like knee deep into some brush and then just craziness. And I'm just having like a hard time trying to clear this whole side of the hill, going uphill, and I'm just blowing leaves everywhere and brushing them over to the side, and I'm just thinking about everything that's been going on this whole year, just trying to keep my mind off of just the hard work that I have ahead of me. And I get this thought, of all the cool stories that my boss, Mr. Yerby, had been teaching me and telling me, and then just everything that he's really kind of like given down to me. He's 85 years old at this point, so he's feeling like he's at the end of his life. And the thought of this club of men goes into my head, and it's more of like starts to being warped into not a club of men, but like more into a fraternity. But the actual thought of a fraternity didn't come until a few weeks later. But I'm working on the side of this hill, and I'm thinking, man, this club should be called like a men's club. And then I think about it, and I'm like, we can't call it a men's club because that has a whole nother side of repercussions to call it a men's club. So that thought leaves my head, but it also starts to develop of what we could talk about in this like club of guys, and what can it be like formed, and discussions, and later the thought of a fraternity enters my head. And when I say enters my head, I really do believe that it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me, saying that there needs to be a fraternity of Christian men at the UTC. So I think of it as who do I need to involve? And the first person that I think of is Mr. Tim Haley. At this time, Tim was part of the SGA here at UTC. So I'm thinking, this is the guy that I need to talk to make this happen. That is the first thought that comes into my head. That is the first person that I think of when I want to, start whatever this is going to be. Skip about 2 weeks later after that. I am in the Young Life office where this conversation kind of got started. There was myself and 2 other guys that were in there, and something just told me to open up to the guys about what I was thinking and what was moving into my heart, and I gave them the idea of like a Christian fraternity at UTC, and I was really holding back all the ideas that I had, but I was letting them kind of dictate where a conversation was going to go. So it ended up them just being super excited and just coming up with ideas of what it can be and what it could really say to the community, and what it can bring to the community. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, I know exactly who to talk to, and it's Tim Haley. And I tell you, this is the Holy Spirit working through it. And I tell you right now, the Lord, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity has been in this fraternity since the beginning. And I tell you that with my full heart. Because in that moment that I am thinking of Tim Haley walks in the door at the Young Life office for I have no idea what reason why, but Tim Haley, the person that I had in my head, comes in to the Young Life office, and there I felt it in my heart that I knew what it was that needed to happen. So I tell Tim Haley the idea of this Christian fraternity, and it took me, again, I was holding back the ideas, and I wanted to persuade him, but it didn't take any persuasion. Tim, as excited as he is in life, he jumped into the idea and was like, yes, and this, and he just started going. The Spirit was moving in him. The Spirit was moving in that room, and it felt so real, and it felt so surreal, actually, because it was all kind of moving emotions inside of this thing that the Lord was doing. The Spirit led us that day to get down on our knees that day and pray for you guys. Pray for the fraternity. Pray for what it was going to become. And I'm telling you guys, the Spirit is real. The Spirit has been with us from the beginning. From that point on, we decided to just write down what we wanted to accomplish with this Christian fraternity and what it was going to become. And we prayed about it for a month. We told no one about it. We just kept it to ourselves and just prayed about it. We then later met at the hub, on the library, the little kids library over in the hub, and there was 5 of us there, people who we thought were going to help us begin this idea, and we were tossing ideas around there at the hub, and Tim said, hey, I've researched this fraternity that fits with the characteristics that we've written down, and maybe we should talk to someone. And that's the first time that BYX was brought to the table. Because at first we thought we were going to have to create a fraternity from scratch. But this was going to open up a lot more time. It was going to narrow down the time that we were going to spend thinking about what it was going to become and how it was going to be formed and what it was going to be named. So BYX came to the picture. Then Tim remembered that Phil and Will had actually met with the former president of BYX up in Knoxville, and we said, okay, that's going to be our first step. Let's set up a meeting with them. Well, the Spirit moved again, and the Spirit did what it had to do, and Phil and Will were actually hanging out at the hub, so conveniently placed by the Spirit. And we brought Phil and Will into the table of guys, and at first, of course, it was kind of awkward because all they were told was, "Hey, Phil, Will, come to this room with us." So they walked in to the room with all these guys, just kind of sitting there like, all right, let's see what he's got for us. And then I asked Phil and Will, like, tell us everything you know about BYX. And he told us everything he knew about BYX. We were excited. We were ready to keep on moving. Our first step was going to be to talk to the former president of BYX up in Knoxville. Then he was going to contact us with the national advisor of BYX, Brian Lee. He was excited to see a bunch of guys ready to bring in BYX into UTC, and we were going to move from there. Watching this kind of become from this idea on the side of this mountain to like this fraternity that is 60 plus people. And it is exciting to see every single one of you guys' life being changed. It is exciting to see where it has moved for only 2+ years. And it's just crazy to think where it will become in the future. But I am really excited for BYX here in UTC, and I am so excited to live life with you guys, life forever. So thank you so much for giving me the time. I hope you guys enjoy this little story. The story does not end here. There's a second part of this, because the cool story about UTC is that 2 parties came together for this fraternity to happen. So thank you guys, and Rush Bucks.